Hi, this is Amy Magyar from Within Coaching, and this is the series on unpacking your CliftonStrengths. Today we're going to cover specifically belief. As always, I am alongside our affiliate coach, Augusta Goodcrawl. Hello, Augusta. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
And our guest today is also an affiliate coach for us, Setnicka.
Hey. Hi.
So one of the things that I love to point out is that Lou actually delivered strengths to me many years ago now, when it was originally CliftonStrengths. Strengths Finder, and now it's CliftonStrengths. And so today Lou is going to join us to talk a little bit about belief, because that is one of your strengths. Mm-hmm. Lou, will you do us a favor so that folks know, will you run us through your top 5 strengths?
Sure. Number 1 is arranger, which I believe we've talked about last week. Number 2 is responsibility. Number 3, right in the middle, is belief, which we're going to talk about today. Number 4 is developer. And number 5 is positivity.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. All right. As always, we know that this chance to unpack it's a conversation about strengths. It's a chance to talk a little bit about some examples, the highs and lows, how to develop that strength, how to take it from the theme into a strength. But it's also really designed for folks to get a better sense on both sides, whether it is they themselves have belief, or one of their teammates do, or if they're a leader, one of the staff members that they have. So it's a chance for them to really understand how it may show up for others as well, not just in themselves. So that's our chance to do it. Augusta, will you kick us off? How would you describe belief?
Absolutely. Belief is one of the talents that lies in the executing theme. So again, kind of action-oriented. I see it as people who really want to take action towards something. With belief, one of the big motivating and driving forces with folks that have belief in their top 5 are their really strong and unchanging core values. Yeah. And so it's those are the things that really help give direction in their life and just help aim them towards whatever it is they might find describe it as their passion or their purpose. People with belief really high in their constellation of their top 5 are really good motivators for others in this way, because they are so passion and purpose driven. Lou, I see your head nodding. Does any of this sound familiar?
Yeah. Especially as a coach, motivating.
Yeah.
Augusta, that's perfect. I'm going to take a quick stab at it I love metaphors. So metaphorically for me, belief is, and I want to say this in a good way, they are the footings of a person. Belief is they are so aware of their, in a sense, their core values, their what they believe guides them so much that it's what they use to bounce off of, to push off of, to how they show up. It really is their motivation. And what's interesting is that belief doesn't mean, if you have belief and Lou has belief, it doesn't mean that you believe the same things. It's that your belief is so cemented and grounded, like those footings in a building, that everything builds from that. So I think that's, and like footings, we hope, of a building, they tend not to move, right? This is my belief, and this isn't going to change no matter what. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, that could be really powerful as a leader.
Talk
a little bit about that. So,
and that unchanging word, I mean, that's what I was drawn to. We all have values, and as a coach, I mean, that's absolutely something that we help people really clarify and become aware of. But what I really notice with people that have belief high in their top 5 strengths are these core values are unchanging to a lot of them. That's a great word to describe them.
I love it. All right, Miss Lou, how would you describe belief? If somebody, you mentioned in a workshop when you were working, because I know that you work with a lot of corporate teams and bring strengths to them. And they asked you about belief. How would you describe it?
Well, just jumping off of what you guys have said, it is about your core values. And one thing I find very interesting is, as Amy pointed out, I've been a fan of the Strength Finder assessment or CliftonStrengths assessment for, oh gosh, I want to say 20 plus years. And when I first took it, this value was, or this strength was not on the list. And I've taken it 2 or 3 times. And the last time I took it, which was a couple years ago, I think, or maybe 4, belief came onto the list. And I found that very interesting because it hadn't shown up before. And I think it has a lot to do with, going back to your metaphor about foundation, as you get older, you become more solid and more grounded and more clear about what you believe and what your core values are. And I think that's exactly what was happening to me, because not that they weren't there, and maybe belief was in the top 10, just not the top 5.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, as I got older, it became more prominent. And I think my way of being in the world, or my function as a coach, was driven by my values, and it became more clear. So then my decision making is around my values, which is what, when you take the assessment, you're making decisions as you do the assessment. So I have referenced the book to get some information here, and it talks about
by the way, will you hold up the book for everybody just in case they're not sure?
This is the one that I'm using.
Great.
It demands that you find work that meshes with your values. So I can't think of a better profession than to be a professional coach, because most of folks with belief want to help others. I mean, it's about helping them discern what their values are, which is part of my process. When I have clients, we do spend quite a bit of time talking about core values, and then helping them guide their life around it. And your work must be meaningful. It's what matters most. So that's so true. And I realized, as you guys know, I spent quite a bit of time working at Patagonia, which is a clothing company with very clear values and a very strong environmental mission.
Right.
And when they talk in the book about ideas for action, it says, think about joining organizations that define their purpose by the contribution they make to society. So I clearly remember times at Patagonia when things weren't going well, or I was struggling. I was in HR, so it was a lot of potentially struggle with people and trying to help them. And it always worked if you centered the conflict or the challenge or whatever around the core values. And then you step back and said, look, we're doing amazing things here about our environmental work. So, the fact that, let's look at the fact that you two can't get along, these 2 people I might be mediating, in the context of the values, in the context of our mission. And that's so belief, that's like driving. And I did talk about my other strengths, and you couple belief with positivity. I just know we're going to get through this. I have that. That is a value. And the other one that I was going to mention is belief coupled with responsibility, because someone who has belief is someone that people rely on, bar none. So
Dependable.
Super dependable. Yeah, I think that's what it says. Your friends call you dependable.
Yeah.
So, and you're also consistent. They know where you stand, which is it's so me. And it's becoming more me as I get older. It's kind of nice to know, oh, here I am in my mid-60s. I finally have clarity about what I believe in. So
it's so funny because, Lou, I was trying to figure out how long I've known you for, and to be kind to both of us, I will say I've known you for at least 10 plus years, which means we're both in our 30s. And
there you go.
I think one of the things that is surprising to me is that it just showed up recently on your CliftonStrengths, because you are everything you just described about sort of that stable platform, that consistent. There's just this beauty in you of knowing. And I think also, Lou, you and I met when we were both on a board for the sporting goods industry that we were in, specific to women and supporting women. And I think the word integrity is really sort of coming up for me, because I always knew I could just look to you and say, I'm so confused about what to do right now. And you just were so consistent, and so much the grounded side of decisions that we would make.
Thank you.
And so I think that is the other side, is so much about belief, is that, you know, you lead from an ethical standpoint. And again, your belief could be different than somebody else's belief, but how you two show up is that you both bring that ethical belief with you, even if it's different, right? So that's what you lead with.
The other thing that they talk about in describing belief is the deep commitment to family.
Yes.
And you know me well enough to know that that's super prominent in my life. And for those of you that, I can't remember if we talked about it in the last value, but I'm about to become a grandparent for the first time, just in a couple weeks. And this whole notion of family is so important to me. And it has been from growing up and when I had my own children. So, and maybe belief is coming up because I'm starting to think about next generation, and, you know, what choices are my children going to make in terms of their partners, and what are they going to be like as parents, and what are they going to struggle with? So I'm not surprised that belief is up there, number 3. To your point, maybe belief was in there in 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it was not in my top 10.
Yeah.
You know, even 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's such a subtle difference when you get down below 3, you know, tiny degrees of where when they show up. I love what you said though, Lou, about family. And I read that also very much so in belief. And, you know, our values do mature as we mature and become more, like you said, more grounded in them. So I can see how that would happen.
Yeah.
The other term that we haven't used yet, but that just came up for me, was dedicated.
Oh.
You were very dedicated to whatever that is. So if somebody may have belief, but maybe because of their life situation, they don't have a large family, they will still be the most dedicated to their family of friends.
Correct.
Right.
And like we have a family of coaches at FromWithin Coaching, and my relationships with all of you is very important. So it's another family. I agree with you, Amy. There's different types of families, and you know, work groups, they become a family.
Right.
Patagonia was lauded for its family values. So they had on-site childcare. You know, family was very, very important. And so I'm not surprised that I landed and had a successful run at a place that had such strong core values that meshed with my own.
To that point, and then I'm going to let Augusta chime in on maybe how it shows up in some other personal side, but I wonder what life would be like for you, because you also worked in the national park system as well.
Mm-hmm.
You very much have followed this about doing good and leading with that, and helping to make change, and helping, I mean, even now as a coach, right? Is I wonder for you, if you've ever held a job, and maybe it could even have been at Patagonia, just in the role that you were doing, where you noticed perhaps belief was not being used, or it was coming up against, and perhaps that created a rub. And it may not be in a job, it could also be in a situation. But will you share a little bit if there's ever been a time where your belief is rubbed up against somebody who maybe wasn't ethical or wasn't grounded in their values and just seemed to be a little all over the place?
Well, I have had the experience of working for folks where we weren't in alignment in terms of our values. And I do think it's really useful to sit down and have a pretty deep conversation about, look, this is what XYZ values means to me. It's a hallmark of this organization. what does it mean to you? I feel like we're not on the same page in alignment.
Yeah.
How can we meet in the middle? Or you know, the whole phrase, seek to understand. So listen and understand, which we do as coaches all the time. So trying to understand their interpretation
Yes.
of a value. The one that used to come up a lot in my work at Patagonia when I was trying to help employees get together or get along better if they were squabbling. They had a value, relationships built on integrity and respect. So the value was integrity, relationships built on integrity and respect. So if you come into a room where people are not getting along and you clear that away and say, okay, look, let's talk about this core value, which you ascribe to, you signed up to work here, so you know it's a core value of this organization. What does that mean to you? Like,
Wow.
what does respect mean to you?
Oof.
And it changes the whole tone.
Yeah.
You know, it's such powerful work. And then you're starting, or you're going back to your metaphor, the foundation, the belief in the foundation about that work brings a commonality, and it just eases the tension in the room, because you're not, you know, you're not talking about that person or that person. You're actually talking about a concept of respect or values.
This is such a great example, Augusta, I think, of, thank you, Lou, of this is a theme. If you had said belief, somebody probably would think, oh, relationship building, you know, that this is in a different leadership category, but it's very much executing, because it's very much you helping others and helping them see and strengthening, you know, in a sense, their beliefs and their understanding. And I think it's just such a great example of belief literally is the person in the room to help connect people to help each other understand where they're coming from, so that they can meet in the middle. They can seek to understand. So it's such a great theme that I think people would get, you know, I think they just assume beliefs under relationship building, but not.
Well, it's interesting. I mentioned it earlier, but you know, with my clients in coaching, we spend a great deal of time about strengths and, you know, identifying strengths, but then the next block of work is around values. And in my experience with these clients, people don't take the time to really sit through or sift through. I give them a list of 100 values, which I took from Brene Brown. And then I ask them to sift that list of 100 down to their top 5 values. And it's fascinating. Part of the time we spend, what was your process? You know, how did you take 100 and whittle them down to your top 5? And many times they might do 5 buckets with 5 in each bucket. So they actually don't get to the top 5, because it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
No.
Augusta, I'm going to let you sort of chime in here, because I know that for you, you also as a coach, you not only use strengths, but values is such an important part for you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I could talk. I mean, I think, of the 3 things, top things that I do, definitely defining values and strengths are in the top 3. Lou, I had a question about how your belief works with your strength of responsibility, because that's so interesting to me. You know, when I think about responsibility, I almost think of a commitment to an action, because I'm keeping my word. My word is important. I said I was going to complete this, or whether my word to myself or my word to my team. And then belief has got a whole different kind of commitment to this beautiful purpose and passion and mission. So I'm intrigued at how you could maybe talk a little bit about how they play together.
Great question. So you said earlier about, I think you used the word dependable. So when I think about my responsibility strength, which is number 2, it is about commitment to others. So part of the belief strength is around, you have high ethics. You're viewed as someone who others can count on. You have high ethics. So I have a personal responsibility to coming through for you or following through for you. And that's part of my high ethical integrity. So they're very closely intertwined.
They are. And that's really fascinating. I love how you included there's a holding of others even more so when it plays with responsibility.
That's
Yeah,
such a
interestingly.
great. Oh, sorry. Let me
Well,
just chime in. It's such a great example of that the strengths can play off of each other, and in fact, it's almost like they super boost each other.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't just have belief and responsibility.
Yeah.
She has them both. So
That's why I'm
don't
fascinated.
mess with Lou, right?
Yeah.
Don't.
That level of
I'm sorry to
commitment.
have interrupted. I just need to point that out. That the two together, it's not just one. It's how they also
Play
interact
together. Totally.
Well, just know that I'll always come through for you. Bar nothing, I will always come through for you.
That word commitment I have written down just when I look at the two together.
I'll drive myself crazy doing it. And then the fourth strength I have is developer. So you see how you can take I'll come through for you coupled with I'm dependable and I believe in you and I believe in helping you with your core values. Merge with developer means that I want to like help you. I always use this little phrase, this to this.
Yeah, that's my hands just did that.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
So those three, it's kind of fun, and it's going to work because we have positivity.
Oh my gosh. Slam dunk.
I don't really know the DNA that could be a better DNA for a coach, but Lou just nailed all of them, right?
Well, that's why strengths are so incredible for me. I just get so excited. Everybody's different. It's not only your life experiences and how you've lived in these strengths, before we have a coaching conversation, but how they work together is just fascinating and wonderful and exciting. So
I tell you what, I feel very blessed and fortunate that I was able to leverage those professionally and continue to today through my work with all of you and with my other clients. So, and, working both for the National Park Service and for Patagonia that had such strong environmental values to be able to build careers in both of those organizations. I mean, you got to know that strengths help guide you to organizations and places like that. So strengths plus your values, no wonder I landed there, right? Yes. But how nice. And so for many of my clients who are struggling with coaching clients, I feel out of place here. It doesn't feel like the right fit. Gosh, when you go through that exercise of looking at values, all of a sudden it becomes very clear. Oh, I get it.
Right.
So,
right. Beautiful. Augusta, I want to make sure that I make space for any questions that you have. One of the things that I want to make sure we have been, and maybe it's because a couple of us have positivity on this call. So we're talking about all the highs of belief. There is a little bit of a dark side to belief where it can be someone and can be considered sort of stubborn because they do not move, right? And so when you come up against that, although what I have found is often those with belief often do seek so much to understand others, but as long as they can understand that not everybody may have the same belief as them, right? And helping people see that they're not being stubborn, but they're just really grounded. And they can be open to new ideas, but not maybe the core, right?
Yeah. That might not be wavering. That's pretty firm. Yeah.
There's a friend of mine who used to say, flex your style, but not your values. And, if you're coming up against somebody who maybe is a little bit more introverted and you're an extrovert, flex that, make sure that you're meeting them where they're at. They're not going to do well with sort of a lot of flash and sort of intense talk right off the bat. So you can flex that style, but your values don't change when you're with somebody or they shouldn't, right? But maybe the style around how you share your values may make more sense to meet the person where they're at. So
yeah, good point.
Awesome. Augusta, what do you have for Lou? What else is coming up for you that you're curious about with belief?
I think what you were talking about, like maybe a more raw form of belief, maybe when you're younger or not quite aware, is that like Amy was saying, that inability to kind of be flexible and almost come across as a bit judgmental because of that insistence on passion, on purpose. And I actually well, I haven't done my teenage daughter's strengths yet, but I can pretty much think that one of my older one has got belief in there because of the just, that raw dedication to something. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if how it maybe in its raw form showed up for you when you were younger, if it did at all.
Great point. I'm glad you brought this up because I was thinking about this earlier before we got on this call. I tend to be the rule follower. It's very, very hard for me to break the rules. And that it's a running joke in my family. And, it's hard for me to be around severe risk takers because I struggle with, wait, you're not following the process, or you're, what you're doing is unsafe, and it's not right. And but it's just hilarious how it shows up and how the anxiety that for me, when I have to fudge a rule is something I really struggle with sometimes. And I know it's absolutely from family of origin issues, bringing my family, but that's maybe you were talking about the dark side of belief. That
I believe that. Well, yeah, I can see that.
You agree?
Yeah, that's in my daughter also, is that wait a minute, that's not right, and that caused her a lot of grief growing up as a child. Being such
like being that gray area, like, well, but there it is, there it isn't. So to your point earlier about listening to both sides and then landing somewhere in the middle that is in alignment with your values, but maybe helps you grow because you're incorporating someone else's point of view is good for a person with belief.
Oh, I love it. Augusta's gonna take us home, but Lou, one last question that I have for you is, what's the most important thing when you meet somebody for the first time and you share your definition of belief and whatever it is, what is it that you want them to know about you? And you maybe have already said it in terms of, I will not let you down. Is there anything else that you want people to know about belief? Someone with belief, and it could be comes from a place of what you should know about your partner if they have belief, or something like that. What do you want to wrap us up with?
I guess I would say, if I were to meet you for the first time, I have a genuine interest in knowing more about you, in learning more about you. Like, okay, I'm dependable and all that, but I have I just can't help myself. I'm dying to know more about you, and what are your beliefs and what are your values, and are we in sync? And as I get older, it's been interesting to watch the friendships that have sort of died away, filtered away, and the core friends that remain are the ones where we share this core value. And part of it is that authenticity. Like, people who are authentic is really important to me. Or people, I don't know if I did the right grammar. People who are authentic are very important to me. I do not like a lack of authenticity. So if I were to meet you for the first time and I sniffed anything that was not authentic, I would probably head another direction. And that's probably the belief, screaming. So.
Oh, that's beautifully said.
Thank
you. Augusta, bring us home.
Yeah, I was just going to wrap up by saying that, when I have clients that have belief in their top 5, it is really exciting to work with them and ask questions and get them become aware of their own values and their own mission and purpose. I mean, for me, these are the people who, once that's clarified and they've locked onto that certainty, the legacy that can be left is powerful. These are the ones that are going to keep fighting for what they believe in. So it's exciting.
I mean, look what we're looking at today.
Exactly.
In the world.
Yep.
The belief in me is just screaming all over the place. So it's pretty tough to watch the news. So.
Yeah. But part of it is you have this belief along with positivity. We are going to learn from this. We're going to grow from this. And I'm just going to put a timestamp on this. Here we are in June 2nd, 2020, when the world just seems to be angry and on fire right now during a national, or well, global pandemic. And so there's a lot. But you, Lou, have been very much, with your belief, you've helped us as an organization be able to move through in many ways. I know I speak for all of the affiliate coaches that we often look to you as that grounding aspect for us.
Thank you. Thanks. It means a lot to be part of this family. Again, very important for people with belief, this family, but yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that being said and being mindful of the time, we're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you, Augusta, for being a part of this and bringing your
thank you. I love these
clients.
talks.
Lou, thank you for being our guest.
Oh, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Know this, that this is just a starting point for those that are listening about belief and understanding what belief, what it's about. We highly recommend that you work with one of the coaches, whether it's at FromWithin or any coach that works with CliftonStrengths, to really help you understand as an individual how belief may show up for you and how perhaps you might be challenged by the job that you have or a role that you've taken on personally, and how that's coming up against belief, if belief is one of your stronger strengths. And so it's something to just be reminding of. This time that we've unpacked belief is not in lieu of a coaching session, but more of an enhancement. So we thank you for listening. And Lou, keep believing and keep reminding us.
Okay, thank you.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Bye.